A French cassoulet is a really hearty stew, and it usually consists of duck, lots of sausages, some smoked meats and some beans. But I'm swapping out the duck and using some chicken drumsticks and chicken thighs, and the results are fantastic. Now let's talk about pots, what to use for a cassoulet. I like to use a deep cast iron pot just like this one. See how heavy it is? It means that it's going to cook really evenly as it cooks on the stove top and then finishes off in the oven. So we'll turn this on a medium heat. I'll add some duck fat. Now, I always have duck fat in the fridge. It lasts for a year and it's fantastic, of course, with potatoes, but it really gives this a depth of flavour too, particularly if you're not using duck as the prime cut of meat here. All right, in with our chicken. Okay, skin side down. I'll add a good pinch of salt. And while they're sealing off, let's get on to some of the vegetables. I've already sliced up one onion quite thinly, some carrot, and I'm going to cut the carrots in half, so 2 carrots, and then I'll cut them into thirds. This is rustic, so I don't need pedantic cutting here. It just needs to be thick and chunky, like so. I've also got some garlic, so nice thin slices of garlic, and then the speck. Speck is great in this. So it's pork belly, it's been lightly smoked and cured. You could also use pancetta for this recipe if you can get your hands on it, and bacon's another great option. Ideally, you want to get it in a chunk like this so you can cut it into lardons. And lardons are sort of matchsticks like this, chunky matchsticks. You want it to be like this so we see it throughout the dish after it's cooked. So I'll cut them down. And the smokiness of this speck is going to flavour everything here, including the beans and even the chicken. All right, let's have a look at the chicken. Ooh, lovely colour on that skin, that's what we're after. You can see that it's not sticking, which is fantastic. And then onto a plate. And then this is where you just have to do all of the motions in steps. Really trying to bring out the flavour with everything, and the way you do that is by sealing everything off. So in with the sausages. Traditionally you would use quite a garlic style sausage in this French dish, but you can use any type of good quality pork sausage. These ones have a bit of fennel through them, so you can use some Italian ones if you like. So these won't take long at all, just to seal off on each side. I can also add my speck just around our sausages. Give that a jiggle. And once I've got a little bit of colour in that, we can go in with our onions and our carrots. Happy with the way this is looking now, so we can add our garlic. I never add the garlic too early because I don't want it to burn. I want the heartier vegetables like the onions and the carrots to cook. Gee, it smells so good, and it's going to smell even better as it starts to cook in the oven. So I'll add some tomato paste, about a tablespoon. Like always, you want to cook that off. In with some white wine. And we do want that to bubble away. See how that's bubbling? Because that's going to cook off the alcohol. And some herbs, a bouquet garni, which is the French fancy word for a combination of bay leaves, parsley, and some thyme. And I always tie that up because we'll be able to find it at the end when we finish cooking. Right, our beans, 2 cans of cannellini beans. If you were doing this the traditional way, you would cook your beans in the broth. But because this is a cheats version and we want to speed up the whole process, we're using cans because they are fantastic and they're full of flavour. And it's time to nestle in all of the bits of meat. So we'll start with our sausages, and you can see why you need a large cast iron pot just like this, because you need lots of space, and it's all about layering these lovely pieces of protein. Okay, sausage there. Bring the beans up to the top. Finally, we need some extra liquid, so some stock. You could just use chicken stock. And we don't want to completely cover it because the beans are already cooked. So we need about 500 mils. It really depends on your pot that's the perfect amount of stock. The lid can go on, and this goes into the oven. So I preheated my oven to 180 degrees. This is going to cook for about 50 minutes, and then I'm going to take the lid off and cook it for a further 10 minutes just to get that lovely caramelisation on the top. All right, let's make the topping for the cassoulet. So I've just been preheating a pan. I'm going to add a good knob of butter. I like to use salted butter for this. And we just want to melt that away. And you could use some breadcrumbs from the supermarket, but I usually take the opportunity to use some stale or old bread that I've got around the house, blend it in a food processor, and you make your own crumb. It goes super crispy. So into the butter it goes. And you want to coat all of this in the butter, and you'll see straight away it absorbs it, just like so. See that? And it'll look quite dry. That's okay. Now it's going to slowly toast. You just got to keep an eye on it and keep tossing your pan so we get that to become crisp and golden. You don't want to add your garlic and parsley yet because it'll burn. So once we get that lovely golden colour, I'm going to turn the heat off and mince in some garlic and lots of parsley. This is cooked nicely. See how it's caramelised on the top? There's still a little bit of liquid there, which is what you want. It makes it extra saucy. So let's plate up. And the rule we use with a cassoulet is to ensure you get a bit of everything. So some sausage, the chicken. And before I put the chicken, I just want to grab a spoon so I can have a little bed of these. Look at these beans. See how creamy they are? And that perfectly cooked carrot. Such wholesome food right here. The speck, that can go on there too. And our chicken, I'm gonna go with the chicken leg. And finally we need to adorn this with these crispy garlicky parsley crumbs straight over the top. You know, traditionally you would take these breadcrumbs, sprinkle it over the top and pop it back in the oven. I like this version because it's extra crispy. This is a true delight. A glass of Pinot Noir with that. Bon appetit.